We're kicking off with The Rock, and to say that his return to WWE has been met with mixed reviews would be an understatement, as the People's Champion is currently public enemy number 1 to fans. Many are furious about The Rock essentially taking Cody Rhodes' spot at WrestleMania away from him, but what does the Great One have to say about all of this? In an Instagram post, The Rock shared his excitement about the upcoming showdown, saying that it's going to be so much fun, and added that he's focusing on the long game. The Rock may be excited, but in the comments section, the post was spammed with tons of messages, all sharing the same sentiment that the fans want Cody Rhodes. With over 2 months until WrestleMania 40, it'll be interesting to see what happens, as the match WWE has been teasing for years could become one of the biggest missteps in company history. With a "We Want Cody" hashtag trending for days now, the WWE Universe aren't backing down from their pro-Rhodes stance, no doubt hoping that they can change the plans for WrestleMania. After all, it was the voice of the fans that led to WWE pushing Daniel Bryan in the main event of WrestleMania 30, and could history repeat itself a decade later? During a recent Q&A, Mike Johnson of PW Insider commented on the possibility of WWE changing the WrestleMania 40 plans, given the negative response from fans. He said, "They can change direction anytime they want and pivot to something different, including the original Cody vs. Roman plan. Whether they actually do remains to be seen. My gut is that we'll see Rock vs. Roman, but it's always possible Rock and or WWE management will see the negative responses and seek to prevent that from getting worse. We'll see. I know that WWE was absolutely monitoring the responses." While WWE is monitoring the situation, a source told Ringside News that it's very unlikely that plans for The Rock vs. Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40 would change. As always, you can never say never with WWE, and there's a chance Cody could get his moment in Philadelphia, but for the time being, WWE is all in on The Rock, no matter what the fans may say. To turn a phrase from the Brahma Bull, in WWE's eyes, it doesn't matter what the fans have to say, and that certainly has been proven on the company's social media pages. Despite the immense backlash, WWE's Facebook page has changed the cover photo to The Rock's return on SmackDown, which unsurprisingly got a ton of angry reactions. The segment involving the Tribal Chief and the Great One on SmackDown recently surpassed 500,000 dislikes in 36 hours, despite Rock being typically one of WWE's most beloved acts. WWE will continue to promote The Rock, seemingly no matter the reaction from the fans who watch every single week, in what will certainly make for an interesting road to WrestleMania 40. So WrestleMania, or at least the current plan, will see a part-time champion defend against someone who's around even less, while the workhorse Rhodes is shifted into a much different program. With that in mind, it's not hard to see why the fans are angry, but those within WWE and on the roster are trying to see a silver lining to this situation. Fightful Select reports that The Rock's return and subsequent backlash is at least preferable to the coverage of Vince McMahon, which had dominated WWE's news channels over the prior week. At least with Rock vs. Reigns, there could be some people trying to justify what's happening, something that was impossible with the McMahon-related scandal. Another source commented that perhaps the company would rather appear inept in their booking than malicious in the light of the Vince McMahon situation. With that said, some WWE names aren't so jaded and see the potential match between Rock and Roman as a great addition to WrestleMania that'll generate excitement among fans. There's also speculation that The Rock may address the situation in some way, given his concern for public perception that is taking a battering ever since his return on SmackDown. Needless to say, WWE's booking has had everybody talking, though not in the way WWE had hoped, and we'll have to see what is said and done concerning this situation in the coming weeks. As you'll see on any of WWE's social media posts right now, the fans want Cody Rhodes, and it's not just the WWE Universe who have thrown their support behind the American Nightmare. On Twitter, Dustin Rhodes shared his love for his brother, stating that "You are a light for all of us," and encouraged Rhodes to keep steppin' despite the obstacles. Comedian and known wrestling fan Gabriel Iglesias also shared his support, sharing a selfie with the American Nightmare and adding his voice to the "We Want Cody" movement. WWE US Champion Logan Paul also made his voice heard, simply stating "We Want Cody," and it's saying something when the Maverick is more popular with WWE fans than The Rock. People may want Cody to face Reigns at WrestleMania, but whether they'll get that is another matter entirely. But WWE will have to do something to try to win back the audience. On SmackDown, Rhodes and Rock shared an embrace after Cody said he wouldn't be challenging Reigns at WrestleMania, but fans noticed how Cody looked far from happy in this embrace. WWE has now re-uploaded the segment, but conveniently cut out the part where Cody Rhodes was looking dejected while leaving the ring, and we doubt this will go over well with the WWE Universe. So when did Cody Rhodes learn that his story had changed, and that he'd not be facing Roman Reigns at WrestleMania? Well, it happened earlier than one may think. According to a report by Fightful Select, the American Nightmare was already aware of WWE's decision to go with The Rock vs. Roman Reigns before he got to SmackDown. The report reads, "Regarding the timeline of events, we're told that Cody at least was informed as of this Friday that this was the decision, and he didn't travel to SmackDown without knowing. Talent, including The Rock, had all been booked for the February 8th press conference in Las Vegas by that time, though The Rock's involvement wasn't clear." Rhodes may have been able to accept this situation with grace when he appeared on WWE SmackDown, but the fans haven't. But are people going too far with their responses online? In the run-up to last night's NXT Vengeance Day event, WWE shared several posts hyping up the show, which were meant by the immense force of the We Want Cody movement. The responses on the Vengeance Day posts grew in number to the point that NXT's Dijak weighed in and had an issue with the fans spamming posts irrelevant to the Cody Rock Roman situation. In a tweet of his own, Dijak said that those hijacking a comment section should stick to relevant posts, as flooding the posts about young NXT talents is just sending the wrong message. Dijak's message may fall on deaf ears, but it does raise a good point about whether fans are going too far. And what do you make of all this? Let us know in the comments section down below. Over to NXT Vengeance Day, which opened with Vic Joseph announcing the return of Wade Barrett to commentary before the Men's Dusty Rhodes Classic between Trick Melo Gang and the War Dogs. Barrett tried to riff on Trick's theme like Booker T, but the magic wasn't there, though the Brit was otherwise great on commentary for this match. Corbin and Breakker came out on bikes that they walked up to the main ramp. It was a goofy visual, but that may have been the point and didn't take away from the bout. Melo and Trick looked great throughout but couldn't put the War Dogs away, and after Hayes took a Braun Breaker spear for Trick, the War Dogs got the win. Ahead of the show, this was billed as the show stealer, but while the two teams have chemistry as teams, the spark between the two sides wasn't clear, with miscues slowing the pace down. This match didn't reach the height of the War Dogs semi-final battle with Nathan Frazier and Axiom, but was still a good first act in the Trick Williams drama of the night. This result made sense as Breakker may be headed to the main roster soon, but he and Corbin still have a story to tell as a team, and perhaps could use this win to challenge the Judgment Day instead of the family. Hayes taking the spear for Williams was a great spot, potentially protecting Trick for the NXT title match later that night, setting more questions about whose side Melo was really on. That question was answered in the show's main event, as Williams battled NXT champion Ilya Dragunov, all while Melo was in the corner of Trick. Dragunov was busted open early on in the match, but fought through the pain and was able to put Trick away in their title match that had originally been set to happen at New Year's Evil. Post-match, Hayes consoled Trick before turning on his friend and would attack Williams with a steel chair before smugly sitting on the weapon. NXT Vengeance Day went off the air with Melo standing tall, and we'll have to see what's to come on this week's NXT now that the Trick Melo gang is officially over. During NXT Vengeance Day, a mysterious vignette aired which said that people have three faces, one the world sees, one family sees, and one no one else sees, which is the person's evil side. This promo certainly had fans speculating on who it could be, and on social media, fans noted that the idea of three faces is an old Japanese proverb, meaning this could be teasing a Japanese signing. If so, then it could be Kazuchika Okada, who is believed to be headed to WWE in due time, and it's also been reported that he could start his tenure as part of NXT. It'll be interesting to see who's behind this cryptic vignette, and could it be Okada? Or do you think it's somebody else? Let us know your thoughts below. If you tuned in to Vengeance Day, you'll have noticed the show sounded much different than usual, as Booker T wasn't around for the broadcast. Instead, SmackDown's new commentator Wade Barrett made a return to the gold brand to call the action with Vic Joseph, and Booker shouldn't be expected for some time. On Twitter, before the show went live, Booker explained that due to a medical procedure, he would miss Vengeance Day and will also miss the next few weeks of programming. While Barrett was around for Vengeance Day, it's unclear if he'll be Booker's replacement on TV until he returns, and we're wishing Booker a full and speedy recovery after this medical procedure. In no DQ action, Joe Gacy brought a sadistic glee to his match with Dijak, who was barely able to get the win over Gacy after Feast Your Eyes, and was disturbed by Gacy's post-match smile. This match, as advertised, was a creative hardcore brawl between two talented individuals who made the most of their minutes that allowed Dijak to finally get a much-needed PLE win. Gacy especially sold his glee in bringing the fight to Dijak, the first man in a long time to take the offensive against Hard Justice, and with this story likely not over, the two will have to show that they can maintain this creative high. In six-person tag team action, the family got the win over O.T.M, and we have to give props to Adriana Rizzo, who has fit right in with the family. This match never lost its energy throughout its 10-minute runtime, and while the result was predictable, it was the right call on the night. With the NXT Women's Championship on the line, Lyra, Valkyria, and Roxanne Perez were battering each other until Lola Vice hit the ring to cash in her breakout tournament contract. Tatum Paxley tried to stop Vice's cash-in, but she failed and would hit her best shot on both women with a roundhouse kick, but both the champion and initial challenger kicked out. This was a match in two halves as Perez and Valkyria worked the opening section like a technical main event, building toward a 20-minute classic before the pace picked up with Vice's arrival. This chaotic triple threat showed the best of what the breakout star can do, but it also showed some weaknesses with awkward transitions and a sloppy finish. That finish saw Paxley knock Perez out of the way, setting up Valkyria to hit the Nightwish for the victory, and while the finish was a bit iffy, this match worked as a whole, with the crowd invested throughout. Valkyria was the right choice to retain as Vice is far from ready, and Perez, once again screwed over and losing cheap, sets up an exciting rematch for WrestleMania weekend. Before then, though, Vice and Perez will keep feuding, as a post-match backstage fight made clear their issues are far from over. In the North American title match, Dragon Lee started fast, but Femi slowed him down before retaining with an impactful powerbomb on the luchador. A battle of styles that genuinely stole the show, Femi had an answer for everything Dragon Lee threw at him, coming across as an unstoppable force while telling a complete story. With just over 2 years under contract, the University of Alabama graduate should not be this good, as he had no wrestling experience prior to signing, but now looks like an absolute star each week. It certainly helps Femi to share the ring with one of WWE's best in-ring superstars, as Dragon Lee consistently pushes opponents to greater heights, and he and Femi have awesome chemistry. The future's very bright for the reigning North American champion, as it's hard to imagine anyone taking the gold anytime soon, and it wouldn't be a surprise if Wes Lee ended up challenging him when he's back from injury. It's been 9 days since Vince McMahon's shocking resignation from WWE, which came shortly after Janelle Grant filed a lawsuit alleging abuse and trafficking by the former chairman. Grant alleges that she wasn't paid in full for the NDA she signed, which is why she feels able to speak out, but as we learned in 2022, she wasn't the only woman to sign a non-disclosure agreement. Instead, Grant was one of several women who signed NDAs, and on News Nation, Grant's lawyer Ann Callis said that she hopes more women will feel supported to speak up. She said, "Grant wants justice because she wants to change the culture that is going on in the WWE. She wants to help other victims. She thinks by speaking out and coming forward first that others will feel emboldened and encouraged to come forth." The attorney also hinted at the possibility of more victims coming forward due to the allegations and civil lawsuit against the involved parties, adding, "My office and my inbox have had a barrage of people wanting to come forward to attest about this culture of corruption and also possible victims. We are just beginning now to wade through all of this, but we're frankly overwhelmed." McMahon's resignation may not be the end of things, as it's been reported that Endeavor could choose to cut McMahon affiliates who have the potential to cast the company in a bad light. For now, though, McMahon is the biggest departure from WWE, and fans shouldn't expect to see him in the upcoming WWE 2K24 video game either. While speaking on Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer said that WWE are trying to figure out a way to get McMahon out of the video game, which will prove easier said than done. After all, 2K24 features a 40 Years of WrestleMania mode, an event obviously close to McMahon, who competed 5 times at the event and appeared in a non-wrestling role of many times. Wrestling, unfortunately, has a seedy history, and the allegations against McMahon could have massive ramifications in the months to come, and we'll continue to follow this case for updates. Even without these allegations, McMahon has often been a controversial figure in wrestling, with countless names speaking against him over the decades. Former WWE superstar Victor worked under McMahon for years and would become an NXT Tag Team Champion during his WWE run, but he recently shared when he lost a ton of respect for Vince. On the latest edition of the Café de Renee podcast, Victor said he was shocked to learn that McMahon made remarks about the death of Brodie Lee, which according to Victor, were unsuitable. Victor didn't state what these comments were, but said that Brodie really tried to be a person with Vince and make WWE his family, but McMahon simply wouldn't have it. Victor added that he was surprised with how little McMahon cared when Lee died tragically young in December 2020, and said that McMahon was annoyed with how much others did care about it. After learning of this, Victor made clear that he doesn't ever want to work for McMahon again, though given the current situation, nobody will be working for McMahon anytime soon. It's worth stating that we're only getting one side of the story here, but this is certainly a shocking claim against McMahon, and we doubt this will be the last ex-superstar to speak out against him. At WWE Crown Jewel, LA Knight failed to dethrone Roman Reigns as undisputed WWE Universal Champion, and similarly failed to get the job done at last month's Royal Rumble 4-way. With the Royal Rumble in the past and The Rock's return, the WrestleMania main event picture seems clearer than ever and does not feature LA Knight. Speaking at a WWE live event though, Knight refused to let this setback get to him, and after admitting his shortcomings, told the crowd that he will be a champion in due time. He said, "We're now heading to WrestleMania, and let's be honest, it ain't gonna be me and Roman Reigns at this point. That's already been decided, right? Understand one thing. I came into this thing and nobody was going to give me anything. That's okay, because they let me take everything I could out of this company. I will continue to do that. What that means in very short order, whether it's this year, this week, later this month, it doesn't matter, because sooner or later you will see me become the new champ." It remains to be seen what WWE has planned for Knight, though despite some setbacks, the megastar won't rest until he adds his name to WWE's history of champions. On a recent edition of his podcast, Booker T said he was working on getting Jacob Fatu signed to WWE, but that may prove to be much easier said than done. On Wrestling Observer Radio, it was mentioned that Fatu has a criminal record that may hinder his chances of getting signed, stemming from an armed robbery arrest when Fatu was just 18. WWE typically frowns on felonies, though it doesn't mean Fatu has no chance, as MVP and Booker himself were hired after previous run-ins with the law. Had Fatu not been arrested, there's a good chance he'd have been signed by WWE long ago, but Jacob's past may have cost the Anoa'i family member a huge future in the ring. It's been over a year since Mandy Rose last competed in the ring, but that doesn't mean that the former NXT Women's Champion has lost her wrestling skills. On social media, Rose was seen body slamming her friend at a beachside bar, and given by the big grin on the ex-superstar's face, she had an absolute blast busting out a wrestling move once more. And we're ending with more from the Cody Rhodes Rock situation now, as Matt Cardona's days in WWE may be a distant memory, but recently the former Broski poked fun at what fans saw on SmackDown. During a recent GCW event, Cardona was set to square off against Nick Nemeth, but cut a promo on Nemeth before the match that alluded to WWE's current booking controversy. He said, "I'm the face of GCW. I can't just let some part-time come in here and steal my spot. You think you're The Rock or something, bro? So why don't you do us a favor and just lay down, let me get the 1, 2, 3 so I can finish my story." As if that weren't enough, Cardona hammered his point home by hitting a rock bottom on Nemeth during the match, which got quite the response from the fans of the show. WWE's booking decision has seriously riled up fans, which Cardona is happy to use for heel heat, and it'll be interesting to see what plans WWE change, if any, in the face of all this backlash.